Hello and welcome. We are Geeks assembled and it's movie night here again. And we have assembled this time to talk about a vampire film. Yes, a film that has vampires in. And it is The Lost Boys. So let's see what Craig has to say about this, considering he's the one that chose it. So go ahead, Craig.
Oh, The Lost Boys. This was just pure brilliance. 1987, Santa Carla, murder capital of the world. Just brilliant. Where do I start? The mother, she plays the vulnerability just so well as this single mom trying to bring up her kids. Just she's brilliant. I think it's Diane. I might have got the name wrong, but Diane West, I think is her name. She's brilliant. The whole setup, the broad walk, the bike scenes, even coming down the stairs on the bikes was just brilliant. Every shot for me, I just love this film so much. The comic book element, and I like the twists at the end. It's quite a sad film because I think that they are lost boys. You know, they've lost their souls, and did they have a choice to be vampires or not? It's quite a sad story behind it. And and the two Coreys are in this, the Frog Brothers. It's just a classic, one of my favourite films. I'm going to give it a 12 out of 10.
A 12 out of 10. That breaks the rules, Craig. You're breaking the rules there. I'm disqualifying that one. Let's move on. No, you're all right. You can have a 12 out of 10. Let's go over to Beef Dad. Go ahead, Beef Dad.
Well, I must confess, it was a film that I've seen many times. For me, it's like The Goonies with vampires. I love it. It's great fun. I particularly like the flying parts because they do that from the vampires' viewpoint rather than looking up in the sky and seeing figures flying around. You actually get it from their viewpoint. I love their costumes. The vampire costumes are brilliant. They really are so incredibly cool. I suppose it's not surprising, but I've always identified with Grandad in this. Grandad is just absolutely brilliant. And he has the last line of the whole film. And yeah, that's the big problem with this place. Is the goddamn vampires. It's just so hysterical. You think he hasn't an idea of anything that's going on, but that guy knows all about everything. Yeah, he's really cool too. The boardwalk scenes got a bit repetitive for me. I got sick to death of seeing that damn roundabout. There's so much else to see on that boardwalk there that to concentrate all the time on that roundabout, which really has no part in the film apart from background scenery. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I love the boys, the vampire killers. Oh, they're superb. Really are good. And one little cameo in that is the little boy that's a vampire. And he's brilliant. I love the kid. I think he's great. I think he does it so well. When he goes totally vampire, he's really good. Scary as hell. And then after they've killed the head vampire and he isn't a full vampire himself and reverts back to a human kid, the difference is so good, brilliant, and he does it so well. Yeah, all in all, yeah, I enjoy it. It's a 9 out of 10.
A 9. Thank you, Beef Dad. Let's see what Lee has to say about The Lost Boys.
I'm glad this was picked because I've got fond memories of this film when it originally came out, and it's one of those ones. It's if I'm feeling down or something like that, and I'll bang this on and I'll have a watch of it. It's well written, it's well acted, the scenes are just brilliant, and it's well directed. Which for Joel Schumacher, he can take or break with him. He can have a direct utter rubbish, or he can go to the top and direct something so awesome as this. I mean, Keith Sutherland as David the vampire, he's just brilliant in this. As everybody says, the bike scenes and the fairground, the settings, it just sets everything up. And then you've got the comedy elements with Frog Brothers and Corey Haim, the comedy there, and then you've got the comedy element with Grandpa. I mean, that scene where he sat in the car with his grandson. Let's go into town. Turns the engine on, then he turns it off. That's the closest I like to get to town. And have you got anything? What passes aftershave? What about some Windling, Grandpa? Yeah, that'll do. Splash it on. The actor Barnard Hughes was an awesome actor. He's well known in America for doing loads of TV shows and in movies as well. But in this, he's just awesome. He sort of steals it as well. As Beef Dad said, he has the last line in the movie, which it's brilliant the way it just ends. And also Edward Herman, who plays Max, the video shop owner, with the twist at the end. I mean, he sort of, the scene there where he's having dinner with the mother and the kids, and they're just trying to prove that he's a vampire. That's just so hilarious, throwing holy water on them and, putting garlic in the cheese, and it's just so well played. But it's very atmospheric. For its time, 1987, it's not dated at all, because some films in the 80s can date very badly, but this one hasn't dated, and so it stands up well. And so some of the actors like Keith Sutherland went on to bigger things. Jason Patrick, he went on to bigger things. It's just a shame Corey Haim, with his drug problems, it was openly drug problems in the public eye, took over his life, and he never really got that limelight again. And it's a shame that he died in 2010, but not drug related. Pneumonia, I think it was. He was destined to be a bigger actor than he turned out, but it's just a shame that drugs took over his life. But yeah, it's a fun film. It's a gory film as well. It doesn't shy away from the gore when it wants to. So for me, I love it. It's a 10.
Thank you, Lee. A 10. Now let's go over to Connor. Go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, this is my first time watching The Lost Boys, and I have to say it is quite a really good film, because vampires these days is sort of a genre in horror that's overdone and has since probably died a death with the way that the Twilight sort of fans came along and everything like that. But to go back to 1987 and see a film like this was really good. I enjoyed it. It was another take on vampires. It was refreshing to watch. It had a sort of Stephen King. It was sort of a childish version of Stephen King sort of tale, with the gore and just the way that the story panned out with the settings and everything. It was sort of something that Stephen King would probably write. Yeah, and as Lee mentioned with Corey Haim, it has sort of a tragic sort of thing to it, knowing what seeing this young actor in Corey Haim playing Sam, knowing what happens to him many years later with his drug addictions and stuff, which led to his death, was it had quite a tragic sort of underlying thing to it. But yeah, Corey Feldman as one of the Frog brothers was great. You know, I enjoyed Jamie Gertz as Star. I thought that she was a great sort of, for the romantic sort of side of the story, she was a great sort of female character with Michael, who reminded me a bit of, weirdly, of Anakin from Star Wars. He had that sort of hair and that sort of look about him, which is quite weird watching it, but still, you know, great actor. Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland as David, young Kiefer, obviously, and the son of probably one of the most renowned and famous actors of all time, Donald Sutherland. Yeah, great performance by him. David was quite intimidating at times, I thought, and with the biker scenes, like this gang that turn out to be vampires with a video store owner as the head vampire was really quite creepy. And of course, no one's mentioned the brilliant soundtrack by Thomas Newman, who has since done some of the Bond films, which I'm a huge fan of, and he's really sort of rocked it with those. So to go back and to see sort of his earlier work with this, it's just fantastic. It just shows how consistent his entire career has been. Yeah, it's only 93 minutes long. It's not too long. There's not an awful lot of padding in it. It's quite fast-paced, I suppose. Some of the gore is quite out there, to be honest. I think the scene where the vampire is thrown into the bath by the dog, and the sinks and stuff start shooting out blood. I'm pretty sure at that moment I was sick in my mouth because it really was disgusting. It was quite early morning as well that I watched it, so I wasn't prepared for something like that. But still, well done gore. You know, I'm not a massive fan of horror films, but I thought that this was quite well done, actually. Yeah, I think, as I said, being made in 1987, it was very 80s. The setting was very 80s. I think the shots at the beginning of sort of the lights and stuff on the boardwalk and stuff, thought that was really well shot. You know, great work by Joel Schumacher, who has had a bit of a tough time of it, probably directing the worst Batman film of all time. And I'm not even a superhero fan, and even I know that that's the worst Batman film of all time. Yeah, I think overall I'll give this an 8 out of 10.
Thank you, Connor. Well, for me, it's like vampires go to Blackpool Fun Fair. In a way, it's like vampires go to Blackpool Fun Fair. And I've kind of watched this film before in the background. It's been on in the background, but I never took any notice of it. So I knew this film was around, and I've seen parts of it, but I've actually watched it in full today. And it is very 80s. Everything's very 80s about it. The style's very 80s, but it does look good. It's well filmed. It's well directed. The soundtrack is great. The humor works as well. It's not just, you know, because they're humorous moments, but they're actually quite funny. You know, they actually work. It's not failed humor. And so that's good. All the acting is good in it. It gets really gory, I think, the last half an hour, doesn't it? Last 20 minutes sort of thing. It's not really gory before that, but it moves along at a nice pace. I think it's quite, I don't think it stalls or anything like that. It doesn't drag because it's only, 93 minutes or something. That it's a good length. And I quite enjoyed it. I think I'd give it an 8, I think, yeah. I quite enjoyed it, yeah. So I'm going to open the floor to whoever wants to speak.
It was such a success It was such a success that there has been 2 sequels, and I would not recommend these 2 sequels at all. They're absolutely stinkers of movies. So just stick with the original. If you're ever going to watch The Lost Boys, stick with the original. Give the other 2 a miss. I just don't know why they made them. As you said, Connor mentioned the soundtrack. I've got the soundtrack here. Some brilliant singing stars on here. In Excess, Lou Graham, lead singer of Foreigner, Roger Daltrey doing his own version of Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Echo and the Bunnymen, which I know Big Dad's not keen on that version, but it's a very good soundtrack if you can get all of that. Or in the modern days now, put it on your iPod. But yeah, over to you.
Do we still have iPods now? Haven't we moved on to the next thing?
I don't know. I've still got CDs. I don't do this iPod stuff. I'm still stuck in 1987.
Yes, that's true.
One of the things that was a constant source of amusement to me was the way grandfather kept putting stuffed animals in the film. Poor old Sam, he'd wake up and there's a stuffed owl right by the side of the bed. The first thing you see is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I must confess that was the most scary looking. I don't know, was it a beaver or a ground?
Yeah.
I think it was a beaver.
Yeah, what's that quote from another film? Nice beaver, thanks. I've just had it stuffed.
Yeah, scary looking damn thing that was. But Grandad makes it for me, really does. Because
good old Grandad.
He's the comic relief all the way through. He is the one who knows what's going on.
He's also got his own shelf in the fridge, the old fart shelf.
Yeah.
Never touch the second shelf.
Brilliant.
Anyone else?
Classic movie.
Anyone else have anything to say? Craig, have you got anything to say?
No, I've got the album.
You've got the album, have you, like Lee?
Yeah. Brilliant album.
Anybody else got anything to say? No? Well, that's it. I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me. I'd like to thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. Tell us what you think about The Lost Boys. And as always, stay safe, look after yourself, and we'll see you next time. Bye.